Ever thought that no food or simply not eating could have health benefits? We always hear that specific foods are amazing for your health, though what if we simply stop eating for a while? Eating less often is completely natural and can have some amazing health benefits. Studies suggest that it may even increase the lifespan of mice and rats. And it doesn't necessarily mean eating less food, just not as frequently. Pretty straightforward, right? If you don't do it correctly though, there's a chance it could backfire. So in this video, I'll show you 5 powerful benefits of intermittent fasting, how it can be done for both us humans and our dogs, and one very important thing to remember if you want to take advantage of all the amazing health benefits of intermittent fasting and you don't want it to backfire. Hi, I'm Ingunn, the Norwegian Viking behind Viking Dog Girl. I hold a certificate as a pet food nutrition specialist, and I'm here every week sharing everything on dog nutrition, dog health, and lifestyle. And I do it the Viking way, which means no BS and no sugarcoating. I look for the real evidence and I give it to you straight so that you can help your dog be as healthy and happy as possible and maybe even extend your dog's life by years. It's only today that food is so available to us. Basically, anywhere you go in modern society, there's food, there's snacks and sugary drinks. Though if you think about it, that's not natural at all. Out in nature, without all that modern technology, there's no way we would be able to eat that often. We would have to hunt or fish to get food, and part of the year we might be able to grow some crops if we live in a part of the world where that's even possible. There wouldn't be a Starbucks or 7-Eleven around the corner, and no protein bars to carry around in your pocket in case you get hungry. Maybe you wouldn't even be able to eat breakfast. I mean, there wouldn't be a fridge full of food or a baked bread waiting for you when you wake up. Still, we're told we should eat every 3 hours. How natural does that sound, huh? So, what does intermittent fasting actually mean? Well, first of all, you're basically doing it already. And your dog as well. Because basically, whenever you're not eating, you're fasting. And that includes whenever you're sleeping. However, when we're talking about intermittent fasting, it's usually referred to more than just 3 hours in between meals. It could, for instance, be a 12-hour fast. Let's say your last meal of the day finishes at 7:30 p.m. and you don't eat anything after that. And that includes snacks or any sugary drinks or anything like that. The next time you eat is at 7:30 a.m. for breakfast. And there you go, you just fasted for 12 hours. Doesn't sound that difficult, does it? There are still some important things to consider and do to get the most out of fasting. Though before we get to that and even how fasting could backfire, let's look at those 5 benefits. Benefit number 1, it may increase lifespan. There are several studies on mice and rats that suggest that intermittent fasting could increase lifespan. The one issue with these studies is that they often compare intermittent fasting with free feeding, which means that the animals that don't fast may end up eating a lot more in general. This of course means that we can't say for sure if it's the intermittent fasting that helps the animals live longer or if it could have to do with the limited amount of calories that they're eating. By the way, if you enjoy this kind of no BS, give it to you straight kind of content on dog nutrition, dog health and lifestyle, then click the subscribe button and turn on notifications to follow my channel. And remember to follow me on Instagram at Viking Ingunn. Now, benefit number 2 is that it may increase something called autophagy. The word autophagy actually means self-eating. Autophagy is basically a self-cleaning mechanism of the body where the body can destroy, for instance, damaged proteins and organelles, which is critical for counteracting the aging process. So autophagy is an important process, and it's been found that fasting may increase autophagy activity. Autophagy may also help eliminate bacteria and viruses within our cells. Maybe this is why we often don't feel hungry when we're sick, because our bodies want to activate autophagy and focus on fighting off those dangerous invaders. On the other hand, disrupted autophagy has been linked to Parkinson's disease, type 2 diabetes, and other diseases of elderly people. And disturbances in autophagy has also been linked to cancer. That just shows how important autophagy is. Now let's look at benefit number 3 of intermittent fasting, mainly that it may reduce insulin levels and even increase insulin sensitivity. Insulin is a hormone that is secreted in your or your dog's bodies whenever your blood sugar level increases, which is pretty much every time you eat. If you eat often, that basically means that insulin will be doing its job for more hours during the day. Insulin is a good thing, it does a good job, though the more it's needed in our bodies, the less sensitive we may become to insulin. And eventually, we may even become insulin resistant, which is linked to a host of diseases. One study on pre-diabetic men showed that simply limiting the amount of hours during the day that they were allowed to eat from 12 hours to 6 hours actually increased their insulin sensitivity, even though they were eating about the same amount of calories. That just shows that it's not only what or how much we eat that has an impact on our health, how often we eat is also super important. Now, health benefit number 4 is also linked to insulin, and it's one of the main benefits people look for when doing intermittent fasting. Namely, that it may increase fat burning and help with weight loss. You see, one of the jobs of insulin is to regulate fat metabolism. When insulin is present, it actually blocks cells from releasing fat to be burned as fuel. It basically keeps fat in your fat cells hostage and basically stops your body from burning fat as fuel. As mentioned, whenever we eat, our blood sugar level will increase and insulin will be secreted. When insulin has done its job, it basically goes away until it's needed again. However, if we eat often, that means insulin is needed often, which basically means we won't be able to burn fat as fuel for most of the day. On the other hand, eating less often may give our bodies a break from insulin, opening the possibility of burning fat as fuel again, which is especially good for those looking to get rid of some of that excess fat. And on top of this, a lot of people that do intermittent fasting naturally end up eating less calories. Though to do this, there's an important factor to the diet that needs to be considered, which I'll talk about shortly when I talk about how intermittent fasting can be done for both us humans and our dogs. Now, health benefit number 5, it gives the body a break. Every time you or your dog eats, your bodies need to work in order to digest and take care of all the nutrients and eliminate all the waste from the food. There's a lot going on inside whenever we eat, and it can be a great idea to simply give our bodies a break from time to time. And as we talked about earlier, this may even help increase autophagy, giving the body an opportunity to do some house cleaning, so to speak. And really, it's not necessary to eat all the time. It's not even natural. So, how can intermittent fasting be done? Well, one way is to simply limit the amount of hours per day that you're allowed to eat. And that includes sugary drinks, coffee with milk or even sugar, juices, and all that stuff. Now, you could do, as mentioned earlier, a 12-hour fast where you eat only between 7:30 a.m. and 7:30 p.m. at night. Some people, including myself, even skip breakfast, which increases the number of hours that you fast even more. Another thing to keep in mind is how often you eat during those hours that you're allowed to eat. I mean, is it really necessary to have in-between snacks, for instance? When it comes to our dogs, most dogs eat fewer meals than we do anyways. So it kind of depends on how many meals you're already feeding your dog. If you're currently feeding 3 meals per day, maybe try reducing it to 2 meals per day. And in that case, it may even be a good idea to only feed within a 6 to 8 hour time frame as well. A lot of dogs do great on just 1 meal per day. And that basically means that they're fasting for almost 24 hours each day. If you take a look at wolves in the wild, our dogs' cousins, they may go days without actually eating, and that's perfectly fine. Our dogs, wolves, us, ourselves, we're all basically designed to be able to do this because food may not always be readily available to us in nature. And actually, there have been studies done to basically see how long dogs can fast. I don't think these studies would be performed these days due to ethical reasons. But back in 1912, it was reported that a Scottish collie named Oscar actually fasted for a whopping 117 days. That means 117 days without any food, only water. And that same article mentioned that dogs have been fasted for 30 or even 50 days previously. Of course, dogs don't need to fast for days at a time. It just shows that if a dog misses a meal or two, it's not the end of the world. One thing to keep in mind though is that everything counts when it comes to food. So if you feed your dog snacks or treats, that breaks the fast, which can then disrupt all the amazing health benefits that we've been talking about today. So limiting the number of times that you actually feed treats can also be a good idea. Plus, it's a good idea to take it slow. If you currently feed 3 times a day and lots of treats, and you want to start feeding once per day, then you might want to break it down into smaller steps so that your dog can adjust to the changes. Now, what's really important and what can basically make it or break it when it comes to intermittent fasting is the food that you do eat when you're not fasting. I mean, it's super important that we eat or feed our dogs healthy, nutritious food because it's so important that we still get the nutrients that we need. And this is where it may simply backfire, because if the food is not healthy and nutritious, it can be very difficult to do intermittent fasting because you may feel hungry all the time, and it may even result in malnutrition. So healthy, nutritious food is key. Though when it comes to our dogs, most dog food don't exactly tick off the right boxes because it's often highly processed and may even contain synthetic nutrients, even if it's premium dog food. If you want to know more about how to feed a healthy, nutritious diet to dog, one that may even keep dogs more satisfied and that dogs find delicious and that is completely natural, then you might want to check out the Viking Dog Diet System, a science-based, step-by-step system of how to feed highly nutritious, all-natural, real food, homemade diet to dogs in a simple way, including meal examples and how to transition your dog. It's so important that our dogs eat the right food because it can directly affect our dog's health and even increase their lifespan. If you'd like to check out the many health benefits people report when transitioning their dog to an all-natural diet, and even how you can get started with the Viking Dog Diet System today, then you should head over to vikingdogdiet.com right now. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if so, then give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends and family. Say hi to your beautiful dog from me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.